Hey everyone. After those two videos, both the studio version of Wexford Carol and this live looped version, I thought I'd go through some of the settings that I had on the different pieces. So the first one you hear in the live version is also in the studio version, and what that one is just simply the melody picked out. And in the studio version, the tram picking comes in first because that's really the main part of the song. But when you live loop, sometimes you have to rearrange the parts in order to get the tempos right and actually give yourself a little bit of time to get from part to part, switching pedals and all that, without having each loop having to go through a whole nother time while you switch pedals. Otherwise people will get very bored. So this first part on the live one, all it is really is picking through the parts. Now you could do it differently as well. You could do the and come up from here. There it is. But I really wanted everything to hang on, so then you try and find your melody within chords. That way you get this chord all hanging on beneath it. Hear that one? Everything's still hanging on. So anytime you can find chords, that's good. I've got a reverb on modulation and plate mode. A lot of pre-delay. For ambient music where tempo is not as important, still important but not as important, the pre-delay really gives you a lot of space, or the appearance of space without getting in the way of things. Alright, and then I have a delay on, I have it on a tape delay. I have a good amount of repeats, but my mix is down. And then even though it's tape, tape is warm enough as it is, so I don't have a lot of modulation on it. My speed is down maybe at like 8 o'clock if you have a timeline. If not, just a moderate setting on the modulation. And then filter and grit, or on other delay pedals, brown tone, it's down, but again, since it's tape, I don't go crazy on it. I still want a little bit of definition, especially as I'm layering parts. Alright, so you can hear a lot of repeats, but you don't hear the repeats because the mix is so low. You maybe hear one and a half, and then it kind of melts together. So that's the first part. The second part that I'm doing is just simple swells. So I left the timeline on because it's such a mild setting. The reverb is on through the whole song. And then I turn on this area on, which you don't really need for swells. It's more for the tram picking. But I didn't want to have to return it on again. I wanted to just seamlessly start layering the parts. So this is... it's at a real fast setting. It's an old analog delay, but it warms everything up. It matters more with the tram picking. And then I've got the Brigadier on for a swell setting, about 60 beats per minute, and then a lot of time and a ton of repeats. And just below unity on the mix there. Add that, and that was this sound that you hear. Now, a word on the arrangement. The way that this song is arranged, the harmony is da 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 Alright, so there's a lot of chords with ambient. A lot of times I just took it down to its bass harmony, the chords that it needs because I've got so much color going on in the top end and the layers. I don't need a lot of color in the harmony. I just need the harmony to structure it, to hold it together. So I took it down to da 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 da. So I took it down to all my G majors and my D minors. Dun, da, da, da. The song is an Irish traditional. It moves seamlessly between major and minor. It's wonderful the way it's written. It's just almost mind-blowingly simple and yet complicated at the same time. And then all my G's I took to 1s and 5s. So this guy I'm muting all 1s and 5s because the song also goes to G minor in the all those thirds are being taken up here with the other layers, so I can just do 1s and 5s, and then same thing on the D. Even though I'm always playing the D on a minor, I took out the majors in the harmonic structure. I'm still playing 1s and 5s, alright? Then the trem picking. Trem picking, I do the exact same setting as swell. Let's see, what did I have on here? And so, but I switched from my telly setting, split coil, so 2 single coils, back to humbucker, and you can hear the Arion is going to just make it sound like trem picking a lot crazier. That's a little, I guess, ingredient that's awesome. Okay, and then with the trem picking, because I'm staying off tempo, I'm changing the notes on tempo, but I'm staying off tempo with the strum, and I really don't want a lot of break. You can do it like that, changing strings. It's a lot easier just to stay on one string, plus you get the slides that help. So you needed me to sing that part there, I know, I'm sure. It also helps for now there's no other strings ringing when I go in between the major and minor, because it goes pretty quick between them and you don't want your F ringing out over an F sharp or vice versa. Okay, and that was that. Then I just harmonized it. And that's why I said why the bass chords are without the thirds, because I'm taking up so much space up here. And basically what this one did is when I did that and hit that major third there, I'm really now emphasizing when it goes major and minor. And then it goes into the na 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 na. We hit that, that's the third of the G minor, you got that B flat there. I'm really emphasizing when it pulls in and out of that, and that was the exact same trem picking setting. And then I went back to the telly setting, okay, and turned off the trem picking Arion, turned off the swell delay, and went back to just this delay, okay. And then I did a melodic line that sounds terrible on its own and real disjointed, but it works with the song. So if you're doing very odd, the timing on its own. And then it finishes up. But it's meant to just be a harmony and support the main melody, so that it works. So a lot of times your harmonies will sound awkward on their own, but together they sound good. And that was again just with the tape delay as before. And then the last thing is that the way I ran this, I switched my board up for different pieces, but for this one I have everything going into the looper, but the last reverb is outside the looper, and what that allows is that the reverb is not recorded, the reverb is on the recording, and what that does is when you shut off the different loops, rather than just a hard stop, you still get the reverb, you kind of diffusing everything. So, and when I come down and turn the volume down, I can still mess with this. So if I didn't have reverb on, we've got this. Okay, well, there's still some reverb because this thing has a crazy spillover. So let's try that again. Okay, hard. Let's turn this on. Softer. And then the other thing that I can do is while I turn this down, I'm turning this up. And it gives it a really nice washout. And then you can change this however you like. And that is pretty much everything I did in the piece for the live version. For the studio version, those are all the parts, but some of them are doubled. There's some different ambience kind of going on, panned left and right, that you'll hear and see. And then the trem picking, I believe that every time I did a trem pick pass, I think there's 4 of the main one. Of course, they're panned all over the place, so you get that stereo effect. And each one is something different, either a different guitar, a different setting on the amp, slightly different pedals, different reverb setting, just to give it that spacious feel. And then I think the harmony trem picking, there's 2, and 2 different passes with, I think, 2 different guitars. And then everything else is pretty much one pass, stereo panned, but again, different settings for each, kind of balancing out the EQ.